Hello everyone and welcome to this drum lesson video. So if you want to improve your hand technique, you will find some content in this video to help you. But if you want to improve your feet technique, this is the right video for you. Honestly, it doesn't really matter if you are using full leg motion, ankle motion, swivel or heel toe. This video can be of great use for you. It is a little bit more focused on ankle motion and single stroke and also full leg motion. But as I've said, if you are using swivel, I would say that 90% of the content of this video is going to be very helpful for you. If you are using heel toe, I would say that 80% of the content of this video is very, very helpful for you. I want to help you to be able to play faster and tighter, but in a very particular way. There is a very obvious way of just learning to play faster, and it is to practice at your red zone and just push the tempo every day, every week, every month, every year. But at some point, it is just super hard because you're practicing at your red zone, so it is exhausting. Sometimes you are just tensing up, you cannot really relax, and you are not doing exactly the right movement because it is your red zone. So you can definitely learn and take bad habits while practicing at your red zone. And so at some point, you need to find other ways to learn how to play faster. And in this video, I'm going to give you 3 ways in order to play faster, but without practicing at your maximum tempo. So the 3 ways I'm talking about are coordination, posture, and control. When I say coordination, I think about the coordination between your feet and your hands, because it's great to be able to play fast just with your hands or with your feet, but then you need to put everything together on the drum kit. So then I've named posture, and we all understand what is posture. It's the way you sit on your throne and the way you are sitting behind your drum kit, the way you are positioning your whole body. So then the third word was control. And then control can mean different things. It can be the ability to play rhythm, for example. But here, control is not meant in that way. There is a very specific control that is insanely useful behind the drum kit, and it is the ability to switch from a tempo to another one, and then another one, and then another one without being disturbed. And this kind of control is very hard to acquire, but it is insanely important when you want to play faster. And so we are going to work on this very specific kind of control with one very simple exercise. So as I've said, this drum lesson is definitely focused on feet technique and on how to play faster without really practicing faster and faster, but we are also going to work kind of a lot on being able to move around the drum kit and on stamina and on our hands technique. There are some requirements before you get into the content of this video. You need to be able to play 4 bars of 16th note roll at 160 BPM, both with your feet and with your hands. If you cannot do that with ease, like it's not insanely hard to do that, you will struggle way too much to get into the content of this video. So you first of all need to be able to do that. Once you are able to do that, you can already get into the content of this video and practice the exercise and some variation that I'm going to show you. But it's even better if then you can play 4 bars of 16th note roll at 200 BPM, and even better if you can reach faster tempo. But you know what? The content of this video is also step by step. So as soon as you are able to play the 160 BPM, you can already get into the content of this video and make some progress with the content of this video. And so just with this video, you will have plenty of work for the future days, months, and years. So, well, that is for the introduction. Now let's get started. Alrighty, so the exercise that I'm going to show you is basically taken out of George Collier's first DVD Extreme Metal Drumming. So we are going to play it in a pretty simple way. And then in the second part of the video, I'm gonna try to give you some tips and advices so you can succeed to do the exercise if you are struggling with this first way of doing it. And in a third part of the video, I'll show you how you can play some variation of this exercise so you can push things further, and you will see how interesting things can get with this very simple pattern. So what was that? Well, basically it is just inverted knot rate between feet and hand every 4 bars. On top, I'm playing 16th knot roll, single stroke roll, while with my feet I'm doing just 8 knot roll. And after 4 bars, I reverse this. I go with 8 knot roll, single stroke roll with my hand, and then 16th knot roll, single stroke roll with my feet. So that is just the basic pattern from which everything is going to start. This is very interesting because you need to work on your coordination so you are able to do this inverted knot rate between feet and hand, and then you need to revert this. So the transition is already going to be some struggle. For the transition, the first one, when you go from 8 knot roll with your feet to 16, you need to be very careful that the 2 last strokes that you play are not just all over the place and a little bit speed up. So it is sometimes what you're going to do is something like, instead of. So make sure that you are not playing like that. Be very careful about all the other transition moments. You might be all over the place here. And it is by paying attention to all these different moments of the transition that you are going to make them definitely tighter. You also need to make sure that the strokes that need to be played at unison are indeed played at unison. You need to make sure that the dynamic at which you play is as flat as possible. And you need to make sure that the volume with your hand between the right hand and the left hand is not like right hand super strong and left hand very low. You need to make sure that the pitchers are swinging and bouncing as much as possible. So you're not going to play just a pattern once like I did. The idea is to keep on doing this during 5 minutes at already just one tempo, and then at several tempo. So for example, if you can already play 4 strokes of 16th knot roll at 160 BPM, you can start this exercise at 130 BPM and do just like that during 5 minutes. And when you succeed to do this at 130 BPM, you can try slower, because sometimes the coordination gets just harder the slower you play. And if you are able to play this super fast, like 200, 220 BPM, even faster, try to play it at just 100 BPM, and you will see how hard this can be, and you will make plenty of progress with coordination while doing this slower, and this is going to help you to play then way faster without practicing at your maximum tempo. So yeah, once you succeed to do this at 130 BPM, push the tempo 140, 150, 160, 5 minutes. And then at some point you can do a whole practice session of 30 minutes, 40, 50 minutes, just doing this exercise. And you keep doing this pattern all over again, 5 minutes per tempo, and you choose several tempo. And it can be, for example, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200 then, if you can. And that's it, you know. You take, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 different tempo, something like that, 5 minutes each tempo, and you do just this exercise, and you keep repeating this during 5 minutes. While increasing the tempo, you might change a little bit your technique. So, of course, for example, at 140 BPM, you're not going to use the same technique than at 200 BPM. For example, you are going to switch from full leg motion to ankle motion, and that is normal. But from 200 BPM and up to 280 BPM, or from 100 BPM and up to at least 150 BPM, you should be using the same technique. And sometimes, because you are struggling, you are going to use a slightly different technique. You are going to use a little bit more muscle than what you should actually. And when this happens, try to fight it, try to relax, try to keep the same technique while increasing the tempo. And of course, from time to time, you will feel some other muscle getting involved into the motion, and it is normal. You cannot completely erase that, but try to fight it a little bit, try to prevent this a little bit. And it's not like, oh, okay, I'm not using the right muscle, so I stop completely. No, just keep on doing it and try to reach the perfect motion step by step. It is the same with posture. From time to time, you will feel that when you go from 8th note roll on the kick pedal to the 16th, your posture is changing, and try to prevent that. Do your best, and step by step, try to have the perfect posture all the time. And it's not going to be the case every day. Some days are going to be a little bit worse, and that's all right. Just do your best every day. And when you feel you're too tired, okay, take some rest and try another day. And that's going to be just perfectly fine. You need to be patient. Otherwise, you are never going to make the progress you want. You need to accept that sometimes you are going to fail and that sometimes it's not going to be perfect, but it's not because it's not perfect that you cannot practice on something. So yeah, just do your best every day and don't get frustrated because you are not reaching your goal already. All right, so let's say the coordination is a little bit too tricky for you. With just that exercise. That is all right, it's not an easy one. All the tips and advices that I'm gonna give to you while breaking down the exercise, it's not just important if you are not able to play the exercise because coordination is already a little bit too hard. What I'm going to teach you now also is on what you need to focus when you are playing the exercise to increase, to improve your coordination. I'm going to teach you on what you need to focus so you work really properly on coordination while doing the exercise. Because an exercise, it is never just about doing it. It is about on what you focus when you are doing the exercise. It is about understanding the goal and the purpose of the exercise. Otherwise, you will still work a little bit, but you are not going to practice as efficiently as you could. So first of all, instead of playing the whole loop, you can focus on just one part, which is basically the 16th with your hands while doing 8th note roll with your feet. When you are doing this, you need to focus on your right hand being at unison with your feet. Because when you play this part of the pattern, it's what is happening. When you play the 16th with your hand and 8th with your feet, your right hand, or your left hand if you are left-handed, of course, but otherwise your strong hand is playing at unison with your feet. So you need to be very, very focused on that. And even when you know how to play the exercise, you need to be focused on that. If you want to make sure that you play tight and that your coordination is great all the time, even when you really succeed to do the exercise, just be careful that you have your strong hand playing at unison with your kicks. So yeah, already just try like that on the click track. If this is already a little bit too long for you and you're struggling a little bit, you can do shorter. All right, so you can already just do like this. And actually, you know what? This is really cool to work on your coordination just like that, because this is basically a blast beat pattern where you just use both feet. Because if I move my right hand, if you move your strong hand to a cymbal, this is what you're going to play. So yeah, try to focus on your coordination while you play this exercise. And if you don't succeed to coordinate your movement correctly, just break down the exercise like this. And so focus on your weak hand in between the kicks and your strong hand at unison with the kicks. So that is for the first part of this exercise. And then the second one, you basically invert the note rate. So you have 8 on top and 16 with your feet. So that might be a little bit tricky, but you know what? Maybe what you can play already is this. And basically, on the pattern of the exercise, what you need to do is exactly this double bass drum skank beat pattern. But instead of having all the strokes play, all the 8 natural strokes played with your strong hand, don't play the one that is at unison with the snare. And so at first, you play everything on the snare. So instead of you play all right? So you can just play this and you start it and you stop it. You start and you stop, just like we did for the first part of the exercise. Let's do it a little bit longer now. All right, so let's say this is already a little bit too complicated for you. We can also break this down into simpler things. All right, so now let's say that all these first steps are okay. What you can do is basically now play the loop just one time, then you take a little break and you play the loop another time and you take a little break. So you basically put the two parts of the exercise all together. All right, so now let's take things a little bit further and play many different variations of this exercise so we can work even more on coordination, posture, and control. So if you want to improve your control and if you want to improve your coordination, you can play this exact same pattern, but instead of just playing 8s and 16s, you can play 12 and 44s natural, so basically triplets. And first of all, when we are talking about control, it is one thing, for example, to be able to play 16, that's 180 BPM, but let's say you play 120 BPM, 24th note roll. It is the same speed, but in terms of control, it's not the same. It's just because you're playing triplets, kind of throw you off sometime, and you can totally be more comfortable at 120 BPM playing triplets, or you can be more comfortable playing 180 BPM 16th note roll. So you really need to, from time to time, you need to do some exercises playing triplets. And so it's great to work on this exercise doing triplets. I'm gonna do this at 100 BPM. So with triplet, the tricky thing is that sometimes it's not your strong hand that is going to play on the beat, it's going to be your weak hand, your weak side. Doesn't matter if it's hands or feet. So you need to be careful on that every time you play the 12s. You are going to have this. Sometimes it's the strong hand, sometimes it is the weak hand. Sometimes it is a strong foot, sometimes it is a weak foot. So be careful of that when you are playing with triplets. So then it's exactly the same way of doing the exercise than when you are doing the 8th and 16th note roll.